Well, folks, it's that time of the day again. We have to update our calendar because it is now day 20 of Kamala Harris taking zero adversarial questions since becoming the Democratic nominee. She is running away from reporters. She is turning down Donald Trump's request for additional debates. But don't worry, she is so brilliant. She is so with it. She's so intelligent. She's so convincing. She's not just a cardboard cutout that they stack up in front of a teleprompter to say things out of her face hole, and then the media cheer like a bunch of wild schoolgirls. We'll get to all of this in just a second. First, Daily Wire Plus members, you have unlimited on-demand access to our uncensored, ad-free daily shows, real-time breaking news, investigative journalism. So if you're not a member, now would be the time, since there is stuff happening literally every moment of every day. I'm exhausted. I don't know about you, but I'm covering it here for you. We need your help. Don't be left in the dark. Join the fight right now at dailywire.com/subscribe. Okay, so yesterday, large-scale contrast between Donald Trump, the Republican candidate for the presidency, and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris continues to run a basement campaign. It's a basement campaign that is punctuated by her going to large rallies and saying things off a teleprompter, and Tim Walz giving a strange, enthusiastic dance routine that is really off-putting to those of us who still have a shred of sanity left. You just feel like you're being gaslit all the time by the Harris-Walz campaign, because she went from being one of the most unpopular figures in Democratic politics to a magical figure of joy, light, and excitement. And then they trot out this 60-year-old doofus to dance around on the stage while talking about how he is a moderate who only loves abortion and loves the kids. I mean, it's all crazy. And then they say that Trump is afraid to debate. Okay, so yesterday, Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago gave an hour-long press conference, a thing that Kamala Harris has not done. The most noteworthy thing that he said is that he doesn't just want one debate with Kamala Harris, he wants 3 debates with Kamala Harris. Here he was announcing that yesterday.
I think it's very important to have debates, and we've agreed with Fox on a date of September 4th. We've agreed with NBC, fairly full agreement, subject to them, on September 10th. And we've agreed with ABC on September 25th.
Okay, so that is good news. That is good news. It's what we've been encouraging him on the show to do. He needs to debate Kamala, because the media ain't going to do their job. They're absolutely not going to do their job. They're going to run screaming away from their job, as it turns out. So then Kamala Harris, she came forth and she explained she would not be doing 3 debates on 3 separate networks. No, she would only agree to the debate that Joe Biden negotiated with Donald Trump back when Joe Biden was the candidate. That was before she shivved him in the back and took his nomination, which is precisely what happened. By the way, it is kind of weird that Joe Biden is still president of the United States and is wandering into walls, speaking nonsensically. You know his entire schedule next week? The current president of the United States, the most powerful person on earth, who you've completely forgotten about. We all did. Old Joe. His schedule next week involves him being in Delaware and taking 2 scheduled phone calls. That is his schedule next week, apparently. Just slow clap for the media, who are doing an incredible job. They went from, this man cannot be the nominee because he's senile, to he can still be the president because he's senile, and his vice presidential candidate, who is avoiding us like the plague, is actually sweetness and light. Here she was yesterday saying she's looking forward to their September 10th debate. So the little game she's playing is she says she will not accept any further debates until they do the September 10th debate. And Trump should say, well, no, I'm not going to do the September 10th debate unless you're willing to do all 3. Because the reality is the American people don't know you. You're hiding from the media. You're hiding from questions. You're actually a dummy when you get off the teleprompter, which is that's been true for Kamala Harris her entire lifetime. Instead, what she's trying to do is delay it beyond September 10th, because she feels like she'll do well enough on September 10th to put questions to bed about her candidacy. And then she doesn't want to be out there having to answer more questions. In fact, her entire plan is never to answer any questions. Here she was yesterday.
Participating in all 3.
I've always been on record. I am looking forward to debating Donald Trump, and we have a date of September 10th. I hear he is finally committed to it. I'm looking forward.
What about the other 2?
What about the other 2? Nope, she's gone. Bye. Catch you later. No questions. No questions. By the way, she did deign to tell the press yesterday that she would be scheduling an interview, maybe an interview, before the end of the month. Here's what she had to say yesterday on the tarmac. And the media played this as though she took questions from the media. Those were not questions. That was a hot stone massage. There's a difference.
Madam President, there's been a lot of questions about when you're going to sit down for your first interview since being the nominee. Do you have any updates on that?
I've talked to my team. I want us to get an interview scheduled before the end of the month. Thank you.
Well, that's a serious answer. Before the end of the month. Now, let me take a look at the calendar here. It appears to me, unless all my information, and the entire calendrical system is somehow false, that today would be Friday, August 9th. I noticed that the month of August actually has many days in it, like a lot of days. In fact, it has 31 days in it, unless I am sadly mistaken. And yet she wants to do one interview before the end of the month? Are you kidding me? I have a question for all you journalismers, all you professional journalismers. If you can put down the lotion long enough to actually do your jobs, maybe you might want to, put a little pressure on the Harris-Walz campaign to answer a question, some questions, any questions. Maybe you might want to ask the very obvious question to the campaign. Why won't you do a presser? Why won't you do an interview? Why are you running away from any question ever? Why are you only committing to one debate? A debate, by the way, that you didn't negotiate with Trump. Your boss negotiated with Trump before you took him out back and shot him like Old Yeller. Where is the media? We know the answer. The media are in her colon. That's where the media are. This is not just Donald Trump and J.D. Vance against Harris and Walz. It's them against the entire legacy media, because the entire legacy media clicked back into place. The minute that Joe Biden went down, they clicked back into place. And suddenly, like a switch, they were enthusiastic about Kamala. So much excitement, so much joy, triple exclamation point. Well, the media are telling us that we don't need any answers from Kamala Harris or Tim Walz because there's just so much joy. And that is a lie. But here's something that's not a lie. There's only one cell phone company that gives you free premium access to the media you actually care about. That is Pure Talk. This might be the best offer Pure Talk has ever come out with. Listen to this. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk on a qualifying plan, you get a free 1-year insider subscription to Daily Wire Plus. That is correct. Take advantage of unlimited talk, unlimited text, and 15 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot on America's most dependable 5G network for just $35 a month. And you'll get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus. The Daily Wire Plus Insider Plan gets you access to our entire library of movies, series, and documentaries, including Lady Ballers, What is a Woman, Mr. Bertram, Run, Hide, Fight, and much more. Plus, you get all our daily shows uncensored and ad-free. The only way you can get this special offer is by going to puretalk.com/Shapiro. I've been telling you to stop overpaying for your cell phone plan for a very long time. I've been using Pure Talk myself for a very long time. Well, if you haven't made the switch over to Pure Talk yet, now would be the moment. Go to puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Switch to a qualifying plan. Get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. It's an amazing deal from a great cell phone provider. So you get great cell phone reception, great deal, plus 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. What are you missing out on? Go to puretalk.com/Shapiro today to get started. Kamala Harris's entire routine here is to play Joe Biden's basement campaign from 2020 with some peppy rallies and some pop music from upcoming stars that I've never heard of, presumably. She was asked yesterday about whether she had any response to Donald Trump's criticisms of her. Very hard question here. Do you have any response to people criticizing you? And she's like, nope, can't even hear the criticism. I'm above all of that.
Can you comment on some of his other criticisms? He made a whole litany of them today. Some of them are about your...
I was too busy talking to voters. I didn't hear them.
She's been talking to voters. She didn't hear them. I mean, that's a lie, number one. She knows all the criticisms because they've been widely reported. Also, the last time somebody on the Harris-Walz ticket claimed deafness to avoid culpability for something, it was for vice president claiming deafness to avoid a DUI. So a solid ticket right here. And I don't blame Harris and Walz for doing this routine. It's great work if you can get it. If you can get away with all of this, good for you. But where are the journalists? Where are they? Why don't they do their job? That is the big question. So yesterday, Donald Trump proved that he was perfectly willing to go out in front of a wildly adversarial press. He tried to reset the table, I think successfully, because the focus in this campaign cannot be on all of the sort of random Festivus grievances that Donald Trump has against Brian Kemp in Georgia. And it can't be about questions about her blackness or anything like that. It's got to be about her record. This is the most left-wing ticket in the history of American politics. Donald Trump's task yesterday was twofold. One, to demonstrate that he was willing to actually take questions in a way that she is not, which is clearly true. He went to the National Association of Black Journalists last week, and he did like a 35-minute interview with people who hate his guts. She has yet to answer a single adversarial question. And again, we are in day 20 of this ridiculous, pathetic routine. It really is sickening because the American people are owed some answers to questions before we select the next president of the United States. Are we not? What exactly do journalists think they do around here? Trump had two tasks. One is prove that he could take questions, which he can. And two, try to redirect toward the Harris-Walz record, which is insanely radical. Somehow Kamala Harris, by the way, has been able to avoid culpability for the administration in which she is the vice president of the United States, which is insane to me. That's totally crazy. In 2008, John McCain was made responsible for George W. Bush's administration, despite the fact he wasn't in that administration. Mitt Romney was turned into an heir to George W. Bush, despite the fact he had no relationship with George W. Bush. But Kamala Harris, who literally says she is the last person in the room for every Biden decision, has been able to avoid culpability for the entire Biden administration record, which is a heaping pile of flaming trash. So, Trump has a twofold task yesterday. I think he hit both of them. One is, he's willing to stand up to press. She isn't. Two is, let's focus on her record. Here he was yesterday warning about economic and security meltdowns under the next Kamala Harris administration.
I think that our country is right now in the most dangerous position it's ever been in from an economic standpoint, from a safety standpoint. Both gangs on the street and, frankly, gangs outside of our country in the form of other countries that are, frankly, very powerful. They're very powerful countries, and we don't know what we're doing. We have leadership that has no clue how to handle them or how to handle any other situation. You could end up in a depression of the 1929 variety, which would be a devastating thing, took many years, took decades to recover from it. And we're very close to that, and we're very close to a world war. In my opinion, we're very close to a world war. We have people that don't know how to handle it. They're not respected. All over the world, they're laughed at. And we can't have that.
He's right about all of that, of course. And then Trump said about himself that he is a common sense person who wants low taxes, strong borders, and a strong military. This should be the campaign. This should be the campaign. Message discipline. That is all.
We're a party of common sense, and I'm a person of common sense. I want to have low taxes. I want to have strong borders. I want to have a strong military.
Okay, again, that is a very common sense message. And she is a person who wants the opposite of that. High taxes, weak borders, and a weak military. That is a very good campaign, and it happens to be true. Trump said that Kamala was the worst border czar in American history, which, of course, is also true.
As a border czar, she's been the worst border czar in history, in the world history. I think the number is 20 million, but whether it's 15 or 20, it's numbers that nobody's ever heard before. 20 million people came over the border during the Biden-Harris administration. 20 million people.
Okay, so again, this over and over and over. Now, Trump did note in the press conference yesterday that all of this kind of honeymooning over Kamala Harris, who is a terrible candidate. She's terrible. There's a tweet yesterday, somebody suggesting, well, she's like the person who hit well in the minors, who was never given a shot, and then she gets to the majors and she's hitting 330. And you're like, why didn't we start with this person? No, she's actually like the person who's in the minor leagues and had a bunch of potential, then came up to the majors and hit 180. That'd be her 2020 presidential race. And then was sent back down and then was brought back up to be vice president. And she hit 180 again. And then she was sent back down. And then she was brought back up as the nominee. And then in the first couple of weeks, she went 6 for 8. And now she's going to regress to the mean and she's going to bat 180. And that's essentially the case that Donald Trump is making right here.
The honeymoon period's going to look. She's got a little period. She's got a convention coming up. It's about policy. It's not about her. I think she's incompetent because I've watched her. She destroyed California. She destroyed San Francisco. Everything she's touched has turned to bad things.
So Donald Trump, correct. He says that the honeymoon will end when people get to know Kamala. The question is whether anyone will ever get to know Kamala if the media have their way. Well, here is another question. Where are you getting your meat from? Important question, because the Olympic Summer Games are in full swing, and Good Ranchers is now getting in on the action by offering new subscribers a free gold medal add-on for the next 4 years. You can enjoy free plain chicken breast, Angus ground beef, applewood bacon, or wild-caught salmon in every order for the next 4 years or until the next Summer Games. Plus, with my exclusive code Shapiro, you will get an additional $25 off your first box. That's up to $1,200 in savings when you subscribe. So Good Ranchers actually made me a kosher steak a few years ago, like their only kosher steak. It was amazing. I mean, that's high quality meat. Good Ranchers is not only an amazing partner to this show, they're also huge supporters of the Paralyzed Veterans of America. Every order supports American farms and American veterans. If you're a proud American, Good Ranchers is for you. Root for Team USA this summer while enjoying America's best meat. Meat that's born and raised right here on local farms and ranches. Remember to use my code Shapiro to claim $25 off your first box, free express shipping, and your free add-on for 4 years. Don't miss this summer special. Go to goodranchers.com. Use promo code Shapiro. That's goodranchers.com. American meat delivered. He is right about all of that. And he points out, and this again should be something that the Republicans point out over and over and over, she cannot be off teleprompter. She is whatever the teleprompter says she is at any given moment. Here is Trump saying Kamala can't do an interview. Where is she? She's Where's Waldo?
She hasn't done an interview. She can't do an interview. She's barely competent, and she can't do an interview. But I look forward to the debates because I think we have to set the record straight.
Well, I mean, by the way, she is the one who is saying she only wants one debate, and it's the debate that was preset with Joe Biden. She is a coward. Do you understand? She's politically a coward. She's backed off every position she ever held, but not herself. She has her surrogates doing it. She won't do an interview to answer for any of those changes in time. She won't explain why she was for Joe Biden's mental competence until she was against it and just shoved that old dude off the back of the train. She can't answer any questions, and she won't answer any questions. And now Democrats are out there saying that she doesn't have to answer any questions. Here's Senator Alex Padilla from California suggesting that Harris doesn't need to take any questions because she's just too glorious. Our queen, slay queen, must take no questions whatsoever, ever.
You got to cut her a little bit of slack for the last 3.5 weeks, an unprecedented way to become the nominee for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, we noticed that.
Assembled the delegates.
It caused some questions, maybe.
To become the presumptive nominee, she has quickly vetted and selected a tremendous running mate in Governor Walz. We're preparing for the Democratic Convention in Chicago, and she's stumping. She's doing the day job and stumping in all the critical battleground states. So we'll get to the media interviews soon enough.
No, you won't. And by the way, I love that he trots out a bunch of things that you should have questions about. And then he's like, but she must be asked no questions. She's been busy. Yes, you mean defenestrating her boss? She's been busy selecting a vice president on the basis of him not being a Jew. Like, there's some questions about all of these things, and she's avoiding those questions. And it's maddening. It truly is. If you feel like I do, which is that this entire electoral cycle has been a complete and utter chaotic bleep show, and you got some questions, and then you are told, no, she doesn't have to answer questions. She's too kind, godlike, and joyous to have to answer questions. She's busy. Is it irritating? I feel like it's irritating not just to me. I think there are a lot of Americans to whom this is irritating, who are owed answers by the current sitting vice president of the United States, who has presided over the worst inflation in 40 years, a meltdown in the Middle East, a slow-rolling disaster in Ukraine, an aggressive China, a fraying of the social fabric, a polarization along racial and sex lines. I feel like some questions should be answered before we make that lady the president of the United States after winning zero primary votes ever. Not just this time, last time too. I feel like I'm going nuts here because how do you take a person who you all deemed to be completely unworthy of her job and then flip in 1 second and say that she is not just worthy, she is the most worthy and all must bow before her. And then when we have questions, you're like, no, there will be no questions. She requires no. Nancy Pelosi doing the same routine. So Nancy Pelosi, who effectively beheaded the president of the United States politically, and she did an interview yesterday in which she basically spat on Joe Biden's grave. It's pretty amazing. But here was Nancy Pelosi saying, Kamala doesn't need to talk to the press. Of course she doesn't need to talk to the press. And meanwhile, Jake Tapper on CNN is kind of like, well, I mean, doesn't she? And Nancy's like, no, we know what you'll do. You will all just sit down and shut up. And she's right. She's right. Because the media are just an adjunct to the Democratic Party.
Do you think that the vice president needs to be more out there talking to reporters, talking about issues in a give and take, not just in speeches?
I think she should say what I just said in that sentence. She should be herself. She should be ready. She should know her power in all of this. And I don't give anybody advice except to be themselves and be ready and know the power of their individuality and their authenticity.
Oh my God. The power of her authenticity and individuality. You know how we might know if she's authentic? If someone would ask her a damned question. That might be a good way to find out whether someone's authentic or not, is if they would actually go and be in an adversarial situation and answer for themselves, as opposed to deploying their friends in the legacy media and their paid surrogates to lie about all of their positions. Nancy Pelosi, she has to feel her power. Dentures are clacking. By the way, you want to talk about somebody who feels her power? Again, Nancy Pelosi legitimately defenestrated the sitting president of the United States. Nancy Pelosi literally did an interview in which she ripped Biden's debate performance and said he was not sentient to be president of the United States, so she ousted him. This is that same interview.
What was your reaction when you saw him walk out there and then his answers or his inability to give coherent answers?
Well, I thought we were going to see Joe Biden from the State of the Union. I never want him to debate what's his name because it's always he's a joke. You know, it's not a funny joke, but it's a joke. And he said, no, I'm looking forward to it. And so he was confident about that. Mm-hmm. So when I saw him, I thought, in my view, over-prepped, not a good idea.
Over-prepped. She's a liar. In that same day, she did an interview with David Remnick over at the New Yorker, quote, and this is about Joe Biden. Remember, this is the lady who says she won't give any advice to Kamala Harris. She is responsible for Kamala Harris's nomination, almost solely. Quote, I've never been that impressed with Joe Biden's political operation. They won the White House, bravo. But my concern was, this ain't happening. And we have to make a decision for this to happen. The president has to make the decision for that to happen. She said, I really wanted him to make a decision for a better campaign because they were not facing the fact of what was happening. We couldn't see it go down the drain because Trump was going to be president. And then he was going to take the House. Imagine how that would be. Well, we don't have to imagine. We saw. So she basically ousted the guy, but now she has no advice for Kamala Harris. No advice at all. She just needs to be her authentic self. The most authentic. I just advise people to be the most authentic they can be. The least authentic human being in America is Kamala Harris. That lady is manufactured. That lady has more preservatives in her than a box of McDonald's French fries. It's insane. But we all know what's going on here. They are hiding her. They are hiding her from the media because she is not capable. She is not a capable candidate. And the media are perfectly happy being treated this way. That's the part that's amazing. They're hiding Kamala. The media are super happy to be treated this way, obviously, which seems pretty unhealthy. But I'll tell you something that is healthy. That would be balance of nature. See, I've got a busy schedule. I'm flying around the country for work. I'm constantly on the go. A lot happening this election cycle. Got to keep my health at its tip-top best. I exercise. I try to get enough sleep. I eat pretty well. And balance of nature fits right into my day-to-day. Imagine trying to eat 31 different fruits and veggies every day. It sounds miserable, time-consuming. With Balance of Nature fruits and veggies, there's never been a more convenient dietary supplement to ensure you get a wide variety of fruits and veggies daily. Balance of Nature takes fruits and veggies, they freeze-dry them, they turn them into a powder, and then they put them into a capsule. You take your fruit and veggie capsules every day, and then your body knows exactly what to do with them. It is kosher, which means that every morning when I have that protein smoothie, I put in some Balance of Nature, and it keeps me going strong. Go to balanceofnature.com, use promo code Shapiro for 35% off your first order as a preferred customer, plus get a free bottle of fiber and spice. That is balanceofnature.com, promo code Shapiro. Again, balanceofnature.com, promo code Shapiro. Get 35% off your very first order as a preferred customer, plus get a free bottle of fiber and spice. That's balanceofnature.com, promo code Shapiro to get started. Eugene Daniels of Politico Playbook. He said VP Kamala Harris took a few questions on the tarmac just now. What were those questions? When she would do a sit-down interview? Would she do a debate with Trump? Is she open to more debates? If she felt bad because Republicans kept attacking Tim Walz, and on why Trump originally backed out of the debate. Again, those are not questions. Those are softballs. Clearly. Wild stuff here. So Donald Trump, again, he was on the offensive yesterday over at Mar-a-Lago. He ripped into the press. They were asking about his limited campaign schedule, and he's like, have you noticed that Kamala Harris is taking zero of your questions?
You have not had a public campaign event for nearly a week now from Arlington, Montana, which is not a swing state. Some of your allies have expressed concern that you're not taking this race seriously, particularly...
What a stupid question this is.
There's enthusiasm on the other side. Why haven't you been campaigning?
Because I'm leading by a lot and because I'm letting their convention go through. And I am campaigning a lot. I'm doing tremendous amounts of taping here. We have commercials that are at a level I don't think that anybody's ever done before. Plus, in certain cases, I see many of you in the room where I'm speaking to you on phones, I'm speaking to radio, I'm speaking to television. Television's coming over here. Excuse me, what are we doing right now? She's not doing any news conference. You know why she's not doing it? Because she can't do a news conference. She doesn't know how to do a news conference. She's not smart enough to do a news conference. And I'm sorry, we need smart people to lead this country.
Okay, he's right about all of that. So, did the press choose to focus on the fact that he happens to be correct and that Kamala Harris is not doing her job and they're not doing theirs? Of course they're not going to focus on that. They're complicit. They're part of the conspiracy of silence surrounding Kamala Harris. Instead, they decided to focus on the sort of random part of the Trump presser. So the thing about an hour-long Donald Trump presser is because it is disorganized, shall we say. That means the media can always choose 4 or 5 headlines that they like out of the grab basket of things that Trump talks about. So, for example, Donald Trump slammed Tim Walz's abortion record. And he pointed out that in Minnesota, they actually changed the law to avoid punishment for doctors who didn't take care of babies who were accidentally born alive during an abortion. Here was Trump.
The Democrats are really the radical ones on this because they're allowed to do abortion on the 8th and 9th month and even after birth. If you look at your new governor from Minnesota, he's talking about, he's like the governor previous, the former governor. I don't want to get him mixed up because Glenn is doing a good job and he's leading our whole campaign in Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. But previous to Glenn, the governor, he said the baby will be born. We will put the baby aside and we will decide with the mother what we're going to do. In other words, whether or not we're going to kill the baby.
Okay, so the media say he's mixing up Ralph Northam, who is the governor prior to Glenn Youngkin in Virginia, and Tim Walz, the current vice presidential candidate in Minnesota. There's only one problem. Trump happens to be right on the policy. According to Roger Severino, post-birth abortion is real. Harris-Walz support it. At least 5 babies were born alive after botched abortions and left to die under Tim Walz's care. 2 of these struggling babies were given comfort care instead of medical care, allegedly in violation of state law. How did Walz respond? By repealing the very law exposing and outlawing this horror and replacing it with abortion on demand on the front end and infanticide on the back end. So it wasn't even wrong on the policy. Okay, then the media got very angry at Trump saying true things that he's not allowed to say, because that's the way this works. If a Democrat were to say similar things, it would be totally fine. If Trump says it, it's very bad. So, for example, Trump explained why Kamala Harris is rising in the polls. Now, if Kamala said the exact same thing, it would be slay, queen, play Beyonce's Freedom and walk out that door, snapping your fingers in a Z formation. Let's just do that. But if Trump says it, he's a racist or something. Here we go.
What do you attribute her rising in the polls as becoming a more competitive race since she's taken over?
Well, she's a woman. She represents certain groups of people.
Well, yes. And they're all like, oh my God, he pointed out she's a woman. That's her entire campaign. Her entire campaign is she's a woman. Joe Biden explicitly picked her for VP because she's a woman. Now she's doing the whole own your power, girl. First woman president. Oh, man. And when he says she appeals to particular groups of people, she is the one who literally has campaign Zoom calls based on race, sex, and sexual orientation. She's separating Americans by race. She has Zoom calls with white dudes and gay ladies or whatever the hell it is. But no questions at all. You know, the media, they need to be fired and they need to be replaced with other people who are better at that. You know, and we have to do that here at Daily Wire. We use ZipRecruiter. Here at Daily Wire, we've hired a lot of highly skilled people to be part of this growing creative powerhouse. We're talking editors, attorneys, engineers, you name it. Like my man, Justin Siegel. Justin is the show's executive producer, which means he plays an important role in making sure I'm able to create thousands of leftist ears every single day. Justin is amazing at his job. He makes sure that all the trains run on time, and he forces me to do extraordinary levels of work for our friends over in Nashville. Well, that's enough feelings for one day, but the facts are this. If you're looking for amazing hires like Justin and our amazing Daily Wire team, you need to go to ZipRecruiter, where its smart technology excels at finding top talent for all your roles fast. ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the very first day. Today, you can try it for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. Once again, that is ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire, ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. Okay, meanwhile, Trump said the thing that's unsayable. It's so unsayable. He said Jewish Americans voting for Kamala should have their heads examined. Okay, he is right about this. He is totally 100% right. Kamala Harris flirted with people who want to full-scale disarm the state of Israel in the face of its terrorist enemies yesterday. Kamala Harris's first open statement as the presidential nominee was ripping into Israel's human rights record based on the lies of Hamas. Ilhan Omar is openly campaigning for Tim Walz. They literally said last week that they might pick Josh Shapiro, the clear and obvious frontrunner for the VP, and then they threw him out the window because he happened to be a Jew. When Trump says that Jewish Americans are fools if they vote for this ticket, he is correct. He is correct. Now, again, one of the weirdnesses about Jewish identity is you have plenty of people who are born Jewish because Judaism is an ethnicity. It is not merely a religion. Because of that, there are a bunch of people who are ethnically Jewish but have no relationship with Judaism or anything remotely resembling it. Among these people would be, for example, Bernie Sanders and half the members of Congress who declare that they are Jewish for purposes of not being counted as white people. But the reality is that if you care at all about Judaism, you should have some very serious questions about the Democratic Party at this point in time. Here is Trump.
And I say it, if anybody I know is Jewish and they would vote for Kamala over me, they should have their head examined.
He is correct. He is correct. By the way, the latest indicator of this, according to the Jewish Insider, for several weeks, the city of Chicago has been sitting on a request from a pro-Israel group to hold a solidarity march during the Democratic National Convention, even while it granted permission for a coalition of pro-Palestinian activists to demonstrate when the proceedings kick off later this month. The Israeli American Council, a nonprofit organization representing Israeli Americans seeking to strengthen ties between the U.S. and Israel, filed 2 applications with the Chicago DOT at the beginning of July. They've not heard from the city. Meanwhile, every single pro-terrorist group in Chicago is being given a permit to protest. Meanwhile, Palestinian activist Laila Elabad, who's one of the people who met Kamala Harris the other day, she is apparently Rashida Tlaib's sister or something. She says that Kamala will lose Michigan if she doesn't cave to us, and Kamala knows it, which is why she's pandering to these people.
So it seems to me if you lose enough voters here, Harris, she probably will lose Michigan.
Yeah, 100%. We are being asked to choose between a candidate that supports a far right-wing government to carry out war crimes against Palestinians. I think right now we need more than ever from VP Harris a guarantee that she will adopt the demands of our movement and adopt the demands of this coalition.
Again, these are the people that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are flirting with. Not just that. According to the Washington Examiner, breaking this morning, Tim Walz, on at least 5 occasions as governor of Minnesota, hosted a Muslim cleric who celebrated Hamas's October 7th attack last year on Israel and promoted a film popular among neo-Nazis that glorifies Adolf Hitler. The imam, whose name is Asad Zaman of the Muslim American Society of Minnesota, joined other Muslim leaders in May 2023 about mosque security in a meeting with Walz's gubernatorial office in Minnesota. He also spoke at a May 2020 event to call for peaceful protests with the governor. In April 2019, that cleric delivered an invocation before Walz's state address. Meanwhile, Zaman said on October 7th that, quote, he stands in solidarity with Palestinians against Israeli attacks. Okay, so those are the types of people that the Harris campaign is bringing into the fold. So when Trump says that, the scandal is not Trump saying it. The scandal is Harris-Walz and what they're doing. Okay, so there's 3 categories of things happening at this Trump presser. The good stuff, where Trump is pointing out the deep and abiding flaws in the Harris-Walz platform, campaign, the fact they're running away from the press. There's the medium stuff, where Trump is saying true things that the media are deliberately misconstruing or lying about. And then there's sort of the distractible Trump. And distractible Trump needs to be minimized because, as we have said, there's no room for error in this election cycle. Trump needs this administration. Harris-Walz will make Joe Biden look like George Washington. Harris-Walz is a full-scale disaster area in the waiting for the economy, for the price of living, for foreign policy, for social policy. It is almost impossible to imagine how bad Kamala Harris would be as president, along with Tim Walz as her vice president. Horrifying, which means that distractible Trump needs to go away for a while. There was some distractible Trump at the presser. So, for example, he was ripping into Brian Kemp again. Dude, Georgia is close. Stop ripping into the popular Republican governor of Georgia who has endorsed you for the presidency. Stop it.
I got him elected. Without me, he wouldn't be governor. I got him elected. He was doing terribly. I got him elected. With that being said, I hope we can repair it. But if we don't, the people are still the people, and they're going to vote. We're leading in Georgia by a lot.
Okay, well, stop that. Like, really, is that useful? It happens to be largely factually incorrect. But also, is it useful? Or Trump raging about Kamala's crowd sizes? Like, is this the kind of stuff that's going to win you the presidency?
I had 107,000 people in New Jersey. You didn't report it. I'm so glad you asked. What did she have yesterday? 2,000 people? If I ever had 2,000 people, you'd say my campaign is finished. It's so dishonest, the press. And here's a great example. I had in Michigan recently 25,000 people, and 25,000 people we just couldn't get them in. We had in Harrisburg 25,000 people, and 20,000 people couldn't get in. We had so many. Nobody ever mentions that. When she gets 1,500 people, and I saw it yesterday on ABC, where they said, oh, the crowd was so big. I have 10 times, 20 times, 30 times the crowd size. And no, they never say the crowd was big. That's why I'm always saying turn around the cameras.
Yeah, the media bias is a real issue, but the crowd size obsession is not. You know, this is not me saying that Trump is being terrible or anything like that. The point is, when Trump is well directed, when he directs himself, he is an absolute weapon. And that's what he needs to be in this campaign, because this is too close. She cannot become president because of failures by the Trump-Vance campaign. That can't be a thing. No mistakes here on in. That's the kind of campaign that he needs to run, because Kamala is a target-rich environment. She is, in fact, warm toward socialism. Here she was yesterday talking about believing in the collective.
We believe in the collective. We're not falling for these folks who are trying to divide us, trying to separate us,
Believe in the collective.
trying to pull us apart. That's not where the strength lies.
The collective. The strength is in the collective. I mean, just say it out loud, lady. And meanwhile, she's running away from her own record on everything. Yesterday at a rally, she was like, I'll fight inflation day one. Well, I noticed that it is day 1,297 of you being vice president, and you haven't done a damn thing about inflation.
You know, when I was Attorney General, I went after price-fixing schemes. And when I am president, it will be a day one priority to fight to bring down prices. I will take on big corporations that engage in illegal price gouging. I will take on corporate landlords that unfairly raise rents on working families. I will take on big pharma and cap the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans.
Rent and price controls and cracking down on all of the R&D. That's her plan. On day one, by the way, she's not been vice president. Did you know that? She's not been anywhere. But she's also responsible for every decision that Joe Biden has made. But she simultaneously is responsible for none of those decisions, which is pretty incredible. It's an incredible feat. In a second, we'll get to the Walz problem that she has, because she's got a big Tim Walz problem, too. It'd be nice if she answered some questions about it. First, remember the incredible film What is Woman? Best documentary of the last 10 years? Well, Matt Walsh got the same group of white guys back together to ask America's next burning question. Am I racist? Coming to theaters this September. Matt went deep undercover into the cesspool of DEI insanity, rubbing elbows with professional race hustlers and diversity con artists. Some would say he did the work. Well, now it's your turn. The date I need you to remember is Thursday, August 15th. That is when the pre-sale tickets go on sale. That is next week. With your help, we're going to stick it to the woke mob one ticket at a time. That's how the theaters know to put it in the theater, by the way. If you pre-buy the tickets, get all the details, watch the official trailer at www.miracist.com. Also, this Sunday, we are releasing a brand new episode of Sunday Special with Justice Neil Gorsuch. Justice Gorsuch has served on the United States Supreme Court since 2017. In our latest episode, we discuss his latest book, Overruled: The Human Toll of Too Much Law, and his inspiration for writing it. Here's a little bit of the trailer.
If you look around the world, you're going to find better bills of rights than ours. I mean, North Korea happens to have my favorite Bill of Rights. It has everything we promise, all manner of good things, and even my favorite right, the right to relaxation, which I really need in the summertime after a long term. But it isn't worth the paper it's written on. Why isn't it worth the paper it's written on? Because all power is concentrated in a single set of hands, or a single group's hands. And that's what our framers knew, that men are no angels, as Madison said. And you have to assiduously divide and check and balance power at every turn. And when we forget that, it's a danger I worry about.
Don't miss this awesome episode of the Sunday Special with Justice Neil Gorsuch. Again, coming this Sunday. Meanwhile, the Tim Walz problems are still percolating, and there are no answers. He's gone too. They're both missing. Like Ellen Page are just gone. They're on the milk carton. Where did they go? No one knows. It's insane. It's insane. So Kamala Harris is hoping that Tim Walz can prop up that blue wall, apparently. That's going to be hard when he is still not responding to stolen Valor allegations. According to MSNBC, the Harris campaign won't even respond to these allegations. They're not even responding to the fact that apparently he bragged for years about being in Iraq and Afghanistan. And according to his fellow soldiers, he abandoned his battalion as soon as he found out they were headed to Iraq so he could run for Congress instead. Here's MSNBC. No, we've got no comment, none.
They are not specifically saying whether or not he misrepresented his time. They're not really engaging specifically on the idea of whether or not, as the Trump campaign is saying, that he lied about this, but they are saying, here's what he did say. So it's interesting to see the campaign respond, the Harris campaign respond in this way. They've been fast about responding. They've been very clear and engaging when it comes to reporters on this, though we still have a question of whether or not he misspoke in that specific moment or whether or not this was sort of something that he did that was a falsehood.
Oh, well, you mean he lied? Is that what Yemi Shalcindor saying that it lied? Is this something that he did that was a falsehood? Funny way of saying lied. Van Jones, again, the only honest man in left-wing media, he slammed the Harris campaign on Walz's military issues.
It's conceivable that he's been loose with his language or said stuff that doesn't, that's not, I mean, there's, people are human beings on these campaign trails. And so, but now he's running for a major position. If he needs to clean it up, clean it up. The reality is, if he said one or two things or said some things that turned out to be maybe a little bit too sloppy, fix it, because he's got a gazillion people who are willing to stand up for his character. He's got gay students who are willing to stand up for his character. He's got people he's served with willing to stand up for his character. If this comes down to a character contest between this ticket and Donald Trump, we're going to win 50 states. So let's just get this cleaned up and move on.
Okay, but they can't clean it up and they can't move on because he lied. And he's been lying about his career the whole time. And she introduced him in front of the entire American public as a head coach of a football team. He was an assistant coach. He's been introduced to the American public as a war veteran. He was never in a war zone. That's his problem, okay? Like, if he said he's in a war zone, that's a him problem. He's the one who's been fibbing about that for literally years. There's a picture of him from 2004 saying enduring freedom veterans against Bush. He had not served in a combat zone in enduring freedom. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The good news is, again, their Praetorian Guard will come to their defense. Here is CNN's Brianna Keilar attacking J.D. Vance's military service. J.D. Vance actually was in a war zone.
J.D. Vance, as a messenger on this, may be an imperfect messenger because we have, as you introduced him, as a combat correspondent, which was what his title was. But when you dig a little deeper into that, he was a public affairs specialist, someone who did not see combat, which certainly the title combat correspondent kind of gives you a different impression.
No, that is not what that means at all. I love that the media immediately shift into attacking J.D. Vance when Tim Walz is the one who's been fibbing about where he served. Amidst all of this, things continue to not be good on the planet Earth, where Kamala Harris is the current sitting vice president and maybe the acting president, because again, Joe Biden is no longer with us. That's the amazing. Can I just explain how crazy this is? That the president of the United States, the most powerful person in the world today, which means literally by military statistics, the most powerful person in world history, is non-compos mentis. We don't know where he is or what he is doing. He can't speak out of his face hole, and his brain doesn't work most of the hours of the day. And we're supposed to be completely sanguine not only about that, but about the fact that his vice president is on the campaign trail answering no questions about what she is currently doing in the White House or how she plans to run things if made president of the United States. This is all crazy towns. It's crazy. It's totally, it's nuts. It would have made more sense if Biden just stepped out of the job. But he's not stepping out of the job. He's still sitting around pretending he's the president of the United States, and they're treating it like a consolation prize. They're treating this like you can make him president emeritus. He can go to the back room and pretend to be president and play with dolls all day. Be like, oh, look, here's Xi Jinping. Here's my doll of Xi Jinping. And here's my Vladimir Putin. They're going to have a fight now. Look, oh, like, what the hell is going on? Where is the president? Where is the vice president? These are all empty suits. The system is running things. There is a system that is running things. And that system continues to run these things and run them incredibly poorly. Meanwhile, there's still the threat of burgeoning war in the Middle East. Iran continues every single night to threaten Israel. Now, they haven't done so because they understand that if they actually go too far, Israel will obliterate their nuclear program and their oil fields. And so they're being quite careful about this. One of the weird side effects of the horror show that has been the Biden-Harris administration is that America's allies are now beginning to realize they cannot count on America, and they're going about their business kind of on their own. Right? Israel has decided it's just going to kill its enemies now, and it's not going to listen to the weird mumblings of Joe Biden, which is why they knocked off Ismail Haniyeh, the political leader of Hamas, as well as the number 2 in Hezbollah. And they made very clear to the Lebanese government that if Hezbollah starts shooting off thousands of rockets into Israel and targeting Israeli cities, that the Beirut airport will be inoperative the first hour. The electrical grid will be inoperative that same exact hour, that basically all of Lebanon will be shut down. Israel has made that perfectly clear. The Biden administration, fearing exactly that, has now gone and done the right thing and told Iran, if you do this, things are going to be very bad for you because we can't keep Israel on the chain. Well, you know what would have been nice is if they had done this from the beginning. This entire war would have been over in March if the Biden administration had not intervened on behalf of the Iranians. Pretty incredible work there by Biden-Harris. Meanwhile, over in Ukraine, the Ukrainians are saying, we're not going to wait around for the United States to get its ass in gear. According to the Washington Post, Ukrainian troops battled for a Thursday in Russia's Kursk region, occupying villages and part of a town in what has become the Western-backed military's largest cross-border incursion since the Kremlin invasion in 2022. U.S., Ukrainian, and Russian officials all acknowledged the ongoing attack, which stunned Moscow and appeared to involve the use of armored fighting vehicles donated to Kyiv by the United States and its European partners. A development that drew no immediate objection from the Biden administration despite its past restrictions on such use of American weaponry. It looks very much as though the Ukrainians were like, you know what, we're going to do what we got to do, and if you don't like it, tough. And you know what, good for them, because the fact is that the United States has been a horrifyingly bad ally to most of its allies all over the world during the Biden-Harris administration. But no questions for Joe Biden, and no questions for Kamala Harris. That's the important thing. They must never be forced to answer a single question at any point. Well, one piece of good news here, we talked about this yesterday. It was breaking news after the show. But we've talked on the show about Global Alliance for Responsible Media. You'll remember that I testified before Congress about the Global Alliance for Responsible Media. It's effectively a third-party censorship group. All of the advertising agencies, 90% of all advertising dollars, made themselves subject to GARM standards. GARM standards were subjective standards whereby effectively all left-wing programming was deemed advertiser safe and all right-wing programming was deemed advertiser unfriendly. And this deprived ad dollars to pretty much everybody on the right side of the aisle. The Daily Wire, to Breitbart, to Fox News, to X, to Twitter. Well, now GARM has shut down. We exposed them, the House Judiciary Committee. We here at Daily Wire, Elon Musk, Rumble, which threatened to sue them. Everyone came together to fight, and GARM is no more. According to the New York Times, an influential advertising industry group said it would shut down after being sued this week by X, Elon Musk's social media company. GARM told its members it would cease operations 2 days after Musk accused the group of orchestrating a boycott against X. While the World Federation of Advertisers denied that GARM's work had run afoul of the law, it said the nonprofit did not have the financial resources to continue operating while it fights X in court. Now, the reality is what happened here is that GARM was humiliated. Its advertising partners were humiliated because it turns out that most people aren't real fond of advertisers boycotting one side of the aisle. It makes them a little annoyed. And the advertisers don't like that kind of blowback. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. We at the Daily Wire have been actively fighting this in the courts, in Congress, in the public eye. We're very proud of that particular victory. It is good for the country. Meanwhile, the situation in the UK continues to be horrifying, mainly because the UK government has decided that the big threat to the UK is freedom. Freedom is the big threat, not mass migration, not the shifting cultural overlay in the UK, thanks to the insane migration policy of the British government over the course of the last 2 decades. The big threat is censorship. The big threat is freedom of speech. That's the big threat. So yesterday, they put out an all-time Orwellian post. The government of the UK, quote, think before you post. Think before you post, because they're basically saying we will prosecute you if you say a bad social media post. If you say a bad post, we will put you in jail. The Crown Prosecution Service tweeted, think before you post. Content that incites violence or hatred isn't just harmful. It can be illegal. Okay, or incites hatred, not just incites violence, incites hatred. So incitement of violence in the United States is also illegal. If I say, go shoot that guy, that's illegal. If I say, this person is a schmuck, not illegal, even though you might hate him because he's a schmuck. In the UK, apparently, if you say that migration policy has been horrifying and that importation of a bunch of people from countries that hate Western values is bad for the country, that might be deemed inciting of hatred and you might be prosecuted. Think before you post. Amazing stuff from the government of the UK. Sky News said the same thing. They said you need to stop sharing videos of riots because you might be prosecuted for it.
However you think you're acting innocently on social media, whatever platform it is, you're just sharing something for whatever reason, that could potentially be a criminal offence. And look, it's not an idle threat either, because the Crown Prosecution Service were keen to point out that they've made a number of charges in relation to stirring up of racial hatred online, one of which this morning was for distributing a recording that could, intending to stir up racial hatred. And so they are actually already bringing charges in relation to this sort of thing. So it's a very, very clear message based in the harsh reality, if you like, that if you do this kind of thing, you are potentially committing a criminal offence.
Amazing. Amazing. So if you post video of things that are happening in the UK, maybe you'll go to jail. So Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who knows a fair bit about radical Islamism, considering that she came from a country in which she was forcibly engaged in it, She has a fascinating piece over at her blog, Restoration Bulletin. Quote, on July 29th, 11 young girls aged 6 and 9 years old were stabbed multiple times at a Taylor Swift-themed birthday party. 3 of them died, 2 in pools of their own blood, 1 later in the hospital. There is now rioting across England. The response to this rioting may tell us everything we need to know about the skewed preferences of Europe's political elite and those of Britain's in particular, the unabated demonization of the white working class, and the failure of the mass immigration project to produce a society in which minority groups view themselves and the nation as part of a cohesive whole. The 3 young girls were 6-year-old B.B. King, 7-year-old Elsie Stancombe, and 9-year-old Alice de Silva Aguiar. They were killed by a 17-year-old named Axel Rudakubana, who was born in Cardiff to Rwandan parents. The police have not yet released any information about motive. In the immediate aftermath, protesters suspecting an Islamic terror attack gathered outside the Southport Mosque. They were met with police and dogs, and violence erupted between protesters and the local forces. This violence has now surfaced in pockets across the country in protest against mass immigration. It should go without saying that all violent disorder which endangers lives and destroys property is unacceptable. There's no excuse that justifies riots, attacks on citizens, property damage, and arson. This red line applies to all individuals or groups on the political spectrum from far right to far left, and just as much to all ethnic and religious minorities regardless of their numbers or social status. Unfortunately, British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer did not say this in his statement on the developments. The Prime Minister decided instead to single out what he calls the far right and made a point of stressing the need to keep Muslims and minority communities safe. In this speech, which focuses not on the spark which ignited this unrest, but rather on Islamophobia and far-right thuggery, you can see how the Prime Minister might be gearing up to implement his de facto blasphemy laws, which I warned about prior to the general election. Sir Keir's rhetoric serves to embolden disaffected Muslim youths by furthering the narrative that Muslims are persecuted in Western countries. It is this narrative Islamists seized upon to radicalize the population and stir young men to violence. The response also serves to demoralize the British population, who have found that their extreme concern over the effects of mass immigration falls on deaf ears. She is correct about all of this, of course. She says all of this has culminated in a sense among Britons that there is a 2-tiered application of policing, that minority communities are treated with kid gloves in comparison to native Britons. The moniker 2-tier Kier has latched itself onto the man who's only been prime minister for a month. And again, she is right about that. She points out the vast change in the status of religion and ethnicity in Great Britain and how this has impacted life in Great Britain. That, in fact, importing millions of people who don't like your way of life might not be a great policy. And by the way, this is having consequences in other parts of the continent too. Apparently, a bunch of Taylor Swift concerts just got killed because ISIS was planning wide-scale attacks on the concerts. According to Karl Nehammer, the Chancellor of Austria, quote, the suspects actually had very specific and detailed plans to cause a tragedy on the scale of Paris, Manchester, or Moscow. Mr. Nehammer said that 2 people who are associated with ISIS, arrested less than 24 hours earlier, wanted to leave a trail of blood. Swift had scheduled 3 concerts in Vienna. She canceled all of them. The Austrian authorities did not publicly identify either of the people arrested, but the main suspect was a 19-year-old man radicalized online who swore an oath of allegiance to the Islamic State. Yes, it turns out that importing vast populations who hate your country and your way of life might not have been the world's best idea. And refusal to acknowledge the failure of multiculturalism on the part of the social and cultural left is going to lead to the dissolution of the social fabric in all of these places. Alrighty, in just 1 second, we'll get to new body cam footage from the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Remember that time? Remember that time somebody shot Donald Trump in the ear, almost killed him? And now you don't remember any of it because the media have obscured all of it? Well, there's more body cam footage showing the dramatic failure of the Secret Service and local police. If you're not a member, become a member, use code Shapiro. Check out for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click that link in the description and join us.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey. If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
Say I'm racist. Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you and less for you. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of shit.
White.
Folks.
White.
Trash. White supremacy. White woman. White boy.
Is there a black person around here? What's a black person right here? Does he not exist? Hi, Robin.
Hi. What's your name?
I'm Matt.
I just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gonna say you racist.
In theaters September 13th, rated PG-13.